Continuing our American Bulge series, today we're looking at the M4 Sherman Calliope launcher. Many countries experimented with rockets, and the Calliope is the US version. Again, thanks to Modelling for Advantage for supplying this review kit. Join me for a look. This is US147, the M4 Sherman Calliope launcher's box set for US late war forces in Flames of War. This box set is actually an upgrade pack. It's not a complete kit. It contains the launcher parts, but you also need to buy some M4 late Sherman plastic kits to mount them on. The Calliope kit parts are all moulded in the new thermoplastic resin material. This means you'll need to use the appropriate technique for parts cleanup and superglue to bond the resin parts. In ancient mythology, Calliope is the Greek muse of eloquence and poetry. Her name means beautiful voiced, but the main inspiration for the name came from steam calliopes, steam-driven organ pipes common at carnivals and fair rides. Many nations were experimenting with and fielding rocket munitions in World War II. Famous examples include the German Nebelwerfer and the Russian Katyusha. Calliope is one of the rocket weapon systems developed by the United States. The T-34 Calliope mounted 60 rocket tubes on a gantry above the turret of an M4 Sherman tank. Support arms secured the launcher assembly to the hull, while another clamped to the 75mm gun, which handled elevation for aiming. With the Calliope fitted, the tank crews couldn't fire the main gun, as the recoil damaged the mounting. Calliope launchers were mounted on M4s, M4A1s and M4A3s, but only 75mm gun-armed tanks. The rockets were 4.5-inch solid-fueled fin-stabilised rockets with a range of over 4,000 yards. Each warhead had the equivalent explosive power of a 105mm howitzer shell. Rockets were mounted in 3 groups, 36 in the top bank and 2 jettisonable banks of 12 underneath. The launcher was fired electrically via a wire running down through the commander's hatch. Unfortunately, the wire meant the hatch had to be open when firing. I can imagine firing this weapon wasn't any fun for the crew. Calliopes are generally thought of as appearing very late in the war in Europe, but they were available much earlier, just not widely used. It was planned that Calliopes would be bunker busters on D-Day. However, concerns about stability on the beaches given their high centre of gravity meant the proposal was dropped. The Battle of the Bulge delayed their planned reintroduction in December, and it wasn't until February 1945 they saw action in Germany with Third Army. Whatever its military impact as a weapon system, Calliope's main effect was usually psychological. The tremendous noise and smoke of a launch plus the sudden and concentrated blast of the barrage on a target was very intimidating. Let's look at the kit parts. Each Calliope launcher consists of 5 parts cast in grey thermoplastic resin. The first part is the top 36 rocket bank. This has 2 rows of 18 rockets. Definition on the tubes is good. They're nice and straight and the ends are moulded open. Underneath is a rectangular hole to fit the next piece. That's the 2 12-rocket banks. These are cast together as one piece, linked by a rectangular bar that fits into the socket on the upper bank. Fit here is tight. That's a good thing, but you might need to do a little sanding here to get these to fit together. Next are the 2 support legs. There's an okay amount of detail here, but also some flash that will need cleanup. One of the arms had a casting block that would need to be removed and cleaned up. Finally comes the elevation mounting arm, which is mounted integral with the 75mm gun and mantlet. Again, there's quite a lot of flash here, and a casting block remnant behind the mantlet that needs to be removed. All the 75mm resin gun barrels I've seen of this kit seem to be in dire need of some Viagra. There's a pronounced droop to all of them. You have 2 options. One is to use some hot water to straighten the resin. The second is to cut away the support arm over the mantlet and graft it onto the plastic mantlet of the M4 plastic kit. I think I might do the latter. Looking at the sad and drooping resin gun just makes me feel inadequate in some vague but deeply unsettling way. Apart from the truly unnerving gun barrel, the parts are well cast and detail looks okay. There are some very minor tolerance issues with fit, but this isn't especially difficult to sort out. There was some significant flash that needed trimming and some casting blocks to remove. Nothing especially difficult or problematic. In the end, the tubes are straight, the open ends look good, and these end up looking like Calliope rocket launchers. This will be a fun surprise for your opponent on the table. Speaking of the table, how does Calliope perform? Here's the unit card. Calliopes are a tank unit with a confident 4+ morale rating. However, they also have the SP gun morale rule, giving them a 6 for counterattack. Frankly, I agree. I wouldn't want to try close assaulting with this thing. It's not built for it. Skillers are trained 4+, and again their unsuitability for assault is reflected with a 5+ assault rating. Calliopes are careful, meaning they're hit on a 4+. These are seasoned US troops who know what they're doing by this stage of the war. The armour is standard M4A3 stats of 7 in the front, 4 on the side and rear, and top 1. Nothing surprising here. Even their mobility is pretty standard with a 10-inch or 25cm tactical move and a 3+ cross. You'd think having the tall launcher might impact mobility, but that's not reflected in the rules. Apart from machine guns, the only weapon is the Calliope rockets. These have a 48-inch or 120cm range and fire as an artillery salvo. The salvo rule means the rockets target a large footprint, covering a 10-inch or 25cm square salvo template when firing. Anti-tank is 2 with a 5+ firepower. You'd need a lucky shot to seriously hurt most late war tanks with that, but guns, infantry and lighter vehicles under the salvo template might have a bad day. The only special rule for the rockets is salvo. This indicates the use of the 10-inch salvo template for the rockets, and stipulates the template can't be placed within 6 inches of any friendly team on the table. Calliopes are a great area saturation weapon, but who can field them? If we look at the online forces builder, they're only available as an integrated option in M4 Sherman late tank companies. The launchers are fitted to up to 5 tanks of the company, with the tankers becoming artillerymen. 3 Calliopes are about 2.5 points each. Their stats and points are the same for the regular and veteran tank company. So that's US147, the M4 Sherman Calliope launcher for Flames of War. It's a unique and interesting vehicle for Battle of the Bulge US forces. Keep in mind that this is an upgrade box, not a complete kit. You'll have to get hold of a box of plastic Shermans to actually use Calliope, but the M4A3 Shermans come with enough parts to build the 76mm and the 75mm turret included. There's no reason not to build both and be able to swap between 75mm Calliopes and 76mm gun tanks. And don't forget the Calliopes were fitted to M4s and M4A1s, so you could model them on spare M4A1 kits if you liked. Overall, the parts were okay. The thermoplastic resin needs superglue and parts cleanup uses slightly different techniques, but detail seems fine. The interlocking parts go together with only a minor amount of work and look pretty good. I'm not sold on the Viagra-deficient 75mm resin gun. I think cutting the resin elevation arm free and fixing that to the barrel and mantlet of the plastic kit would be less, how can I put this, embarrassing, on the table. As for effectiveness, Calliope is about the same price as 105mm armoured artillery like the M7 Priest. While the 105mm Priest is a bit more effective, Calliope uses the larger salvo template and is an organic unit for formation morale purposes. I haven't looked at the US tank company lists very hard, but these features might be just enough to convince you Calliope has the edge. Thanks once again go to Modelling for Advantage. The Restless Kaiser and JonnyB continue to support Fog of War and help me bring you interesting reviews. If you haven't seen MFA, I'd urge you to check out the shenanigans on their channel. You won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. See you next time.